Welcome, Power Project Army, to video number 1000. Thank you very much, Power Project Army, for being by my side and for asking questions and for being fired up. And also, I want to thank all the haters out there. I know you're watching. It's hard not to when someone's got this handsome of a face. But know this, not everyone can be handsome and bench press 854 pounds. Life just isn't fair in that way. Anyway, this is Mark Bell for supertraining.tv, Super Training Gym, the strongest gym in the West. Answering more questions today for the Power Project. We got 3 questions. Count them. 3. Look, I got a new ring. Look at that. Pow. Anyway, we got 3 questions. 1 is about overhead press. Number 2 is about breaking through plateaus. And number 3 is about bench press percentages. Let's see if I can remember all 3 of these, because these are always off the top of this dome right here, which isn't really doing so good nowadays. So let's talk about bench press percentages first. The guy says, the guy that wrote in is actually pretty strong. A lighter lifter, lifts in the 220 weight class, and has had some success, but he doesn't feel like he's having any success with his speed bench training. The way that I feel about speed bench training is I've always felt the percentages are wrong. And in talking to many athletes and talking to many lifters over the years, you start to realize that people aren't using the percentages that were originally given to them for the speed bench. And the reason they're not doing it anymore is because it simply was not working, or was hurting, or whatever the case was. My suggestion is to change it up. Force equals mass times acceleration. So you need a certain amount of mass on the bar in order to produce a certain amount of force, and occasionally you're going to need to accelerate harder. So you're going to want to go back and forth between having larger weights on the bar and smaller weights on the bar. Maybe one week you only use 185 in a band and do like 12 sets of 3. Maybe another week you use about 245 with no band. You see how drastic that of a change that would be. Those of you who already currently use bands would totally understand what I'm saying there. Remember, the bands accommodate resistance. For those of you who are not up to speed, weights are lighter at the bottom, heavier at the top. However, due to that fact that they're lighter at the bottom, heavier at the top, you're moving super fast, and you're almost moving in a herky-jerky way that is not efficient, that does not transfer over to big bench presses. It is a great way to teach your body to really forcefully drive those weights out of the bottom of the lift. But in my opinion, especially for newer people, it is not the greatest method. It's not the fastest way to get strong. I believe that the best way to get strong, the best way to utilize something like speed training would be maybe 2 weeks on, 1 week off. Something along those lines, where you maybe do 2 weeks in a row of straight up speed work with lower percentages, maybe as low as 40%, and you're actually moving the weight pretty fast, or maybe even only a week at a time. Then the next week you change it and you move slower. That's something that I've developed over the years. I started doing that in about 2006 after reading an article from James Smith, who used to work for the Pittsburgh he used to work for Pitt University. And it was just something that he wrote about. He said, I do 8 sets of 3 one week, which is kind of fast, 6 sets of 4 the next, and 4 sets of 6 the next, and use the same weight all the way through. It's an interesting concept, but what happened is you ended up moving the weights more methodically as you did more repetitions, and you moved a little bit slower, but you still got a similar training effect. So it might be something that you want to try. It might be something that you want to try to tap into. Those of you that are really having chronic problems on the dynamic effort bench, one way to mask that would be to wear a slingshot. Another way to mask that would be to bench off a towel or a man pond or something of that sort. And that would help mask the problem a little bit. But also realize that the problem is the exercise itself. You were dealing with smaller joints. We got the wrist, the elbow, and the shoulder. That's the technical term for the shoulder. So you're dealing with some smaller joints. It's not the same as squatting. It's not the same as deadlifting. When you do squat training, many times guys are 60, 70, sometimes they're 80%. Sometimes guys will move weights fast that are around 80% of their max. Think about it. Think about the numbers you're selecting for yourself, and you'll start to kind of realize what I'm talking about. It's 80%. Like, let's say that you're squatting in briefs, right? And if you were to add another 60, 80 pounds, 100 pounds, something like that, you might actually miss the weight, or it might be just super, super challenging. So trust me when I say that you're working with percentages higher than you think. You're basing some of these percentages off a fold geared squat, and that's a totally different ballgame. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying the percentages are going to be much, much higher on the squat in many cases, and it'll be quite different in the deadlift as well. Each person's a little different. For myself, I've always responded really well to low percentages in the squat, and then just throw on as much stuff as I can, and hope for the best, and hope to be able to hammer out a huge squat. But hopefully that helps clear some things up for you. We got some other questions to get to, but what I would suggest is maybe every other week just switching back and forth between moving super fast and moving medium fast. 5 sets of 5, 3 sets of 3, shit like that. Switch it up. Implement the repetition effort method on that day instead of the dynamic effort day. So give that a shot, see how it works. Somebody asked a question about overhead presses. They said you probably won't even answer this question. It's not a very nice way to talk to the people's coach, and I do not appreciate it. How can overhead presses help a power lifter? They help build your shoulders, man. They help build up your shoulders. So a stronger shoulder, a more healthy shoulder is going to be a better shoulder. It's going to create a more efficient training environment. And you'll be able to bench press more. You'll be able to handle more weight at the bottom of those bench presses, where things start to get sticky and things start to get ugly. So don't neglect overhead presses. It's kind of like people neglecting their quads in the squat. It's okay to train the front of your body. It's okay to look like you work out. You won't go to jail. Anyway, we got one more question. What's the other question? Oh, breaking through plateaus. Man, I better hurry up. We're at 7:30 already. And the power project can only go for about 10 minutes before my phone explodes. So breaking through plateaus. Success breeds success. Champions aren't born. They are created. You got to realize that. You got to build success in order for you to break through plateaus, in order for you not to feel like shit, in order for you not to associate negative thought viruses and have them grow inside your body and tear you down with certain weights. Then you need to build positive reinforcement. So for example, when you're doing max effort work and you're trying to go heavy, well, first of all, I'll point out one thing in a second about singles, and that should help clear some things up for you as well. But let's say you're going for a single for the day. Make sure that you're making small jumps and getting to your maximum lift. Remember in school when you did math and they used to say, show your work? Well, this is no different. If you want to be good, you're going to have to show some work. You want to be great, you're going to have to show a lot of work. And if you're not showing a lot of work, if you're not completing a lot of lifts, then you will continue to suck. And you will continue to struggle, and you will continue not to be able to break through plateaus. So make sure that you're setting yourself up for success. You're setting yourself up to do the best possible job for that day that you possibly can. That means that you rest properly. That means that you eat properly. That means that you shit properly. That means that you do everything right in order to set yourself up for that day. If anything is off, if anything fails, anything goes sidewards, then you need to change your plan. And you need to develop a different mindset for that particular day. Now let me talk about chasing singles for a second. Chasing after big numbers and chasing singles is not always healthy. For myself, I can get to a point where if I miss a lift, I feel sick to my stomach. I feel like I'm going to puke. I'm 100% honest with you. A lot of people don't think I care about much, but obviously I care about the wifey and the kids and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not a super emotional person, but if I miss a lift, it means the world to me. It crushes me, and I hate it. I've learned over the years to not let it affect me as much, to be a little more Brett Favre-ish about it. Remember, Brett Favre has the most touchdowns ever. He also has the most interceptions ever. He also has the most wins ever. He's also, he's also a Hall of Famer. So in order to be good, in order to be great, you're going to have a lot of failures, and that's kind of part of it. So you're going to have to accept that side of it in some way, but you're also going to have to use some building blocks to build success. Also, stop chasing after those singles all the time. Hit a big, strong lift about once a month, every 3 weeks, somewhere in that range. Other than that, do doubles, triples, sets of 5, and work your ass off. If you know what you're worth, then go out and get what you're worth. Embrace your fears and follow through with your dreams. And that is it from supertraining.tv.